good morning, guys. It's good to be back, all of us on CRM Audio, kind of elders.
Yeah.
And George, since your our last podcast, you've taken possession of your new Tesla, right?
That's right, Model 3. Finally, the right-hand drive is available in Australia. There are a couple of things I learned about self-driving. Well, it's not self-driving; it's autopilot capabilities. And so, programmed Tesla behaves very much as a learner, neurotic driver, which gets freaked out by any obstacle on left or right. It cannot differentiate, important versus non-important obstacles. So it's kind of very jumpy in its behavior. But the other thing is that you've seen those Tesla videos where people sleep at the steering wheel and things like that. I was driving in the wee hours into the office this morning, and I decided, well, I'll give it a go because not sleeping, but just letting Tesla drive itself on a suburban road. It's not a highway. It's kind of very busy, normally very busy road. So I let it go, and it went funny. It said, few minutes into drive, it said, put your hands on the steering wheel. I said, okay, right, I hear you. It's kind of, naughty child. Like, I touched the steering wheel lightly and keep driving. 1 minute into it, it goes like, beep, 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 that's it. Autopilot is off for the duration of this trip. That's it. No more autopilot for you. It's kind of, you've done it. It's like strict parents, you've done it. But otherwise, love it.
You broke it.
Yeah.
So here's the important question: Have you asked it to play CRM Audio yet? Somebody once posted on our wall that they could tell their Tesla to play CRM Audio, and it played CRM Audio.
I guess I could. It doesn't quite get my accent, so I need to train it a bit better. What I do want to do, I want to tell my iPhone to unlock and lock my car without starting the app. And I need to figure out the way to do it. It's kind of what I want is, hey Siri, lock my car. I'm not sure if it's possible.
You need to unlock your iPhone first.
Oh, what? Shut up.
That's going to be very handy. Then when the telephone thief steals your phone, they can also steal your car. Make things convenient for them.
Yeah, look, it's fun.
And how long were you waiting for the Tesla, George?
Well, it's like, you remember old releases of CRM about the same time. It's like just over 3 years.
Wow.
I booked my place.
Has it been worth the 3-year wait? That's what we want to know.
Financially, yes, because I didn't have to pay any money for it. I had to put deposit down, a small deposit, to reserve place in the queue, but now the car is here. Now I have to actually pay for it. So, it's great fun. I'm looking forward to automate it a bit. People plugged in a Raspberry Pi instead of just dumb storage for videos. You can plug Raspberry Pi and kind of transmit the video through the Wi-Fi and play it on the phone and things like that. So it's quite interesting. There are some possibilities. It's got API, so I might look into having some fun with Tesla and Flow down the road.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
In the business applications news, we have the schedule for when Wave 2 is going to be enabled. And so it starts with South America, Canada, India, Asia in Friday, October 4th to Sunday, October 6th. Then we move to Japan, Great Britain, Australia. Actually, Asia is also the 11th. So you get it between the 11th and the 13th. Then Europe on the 8th. Wave 2.
Wave 2
business applications, Dynamics, Power Apps, Flow, Wave 2.
Idea. We need to find a sponsor. You guys working for the partners. One of partners need to sponsor the trip. As release happens, we travel from that region to that region. So we go from South America to Canada to whatever, Japan to, and end up in North America. How's that?
So you hear? Okay, so then let me finish the schedule in case anybody's taking notes here. So Australia is the 11th through the 13th. Europe's the 18th, 20th, and then after all the bugs are fixed from the rest of you guys, then we in North America get it, and life is good.
Exactly.
And then Government Cloud and Department of Defense get it on November 1st to the 3rd.
So what's your favorite features in Wave 2? Apart from licensing.
I mean, the thing that is most impacting my life is some of the things that are coming with Flow and seeing some of the things like the current environment connector, some of the bugs being worked out, and some of the things really being able to do some amazing thing. I haven't even really gotten into the new associate and deassociate steps, but the fact we can do many-to-many relationships with Flow has me pretty excited. On the core platform itself, I don't know. I mean, I think some of the things I'm most excited about won't actually be out in October. They'll be coming later. There's some things that are either preview or release before the end of Wave 2.
You know,
I'm getting more. So what is your favorite?
Dialects?
The what?
The opportunity close dialogue. Yeah, I did that. I wrote a tip about it. It's good, but that's kind of faded in, and my mind is already there,
Well, and the problem is, like for me, I don't do many sales implementations anymore, so I'm not really dealing with opportunities too much. So that's really cool, and I'm happy it's finally out. But I haven't really messed with it. The things that I
wish they had kept with a plan for case resolution.
Yes. Now I would have been much more affected by that. But the stuff happening with Canvas apps and making more and more things solution ready, those are the things that are exciting me. The custom connectors, the component framework for Canvas apps, those are the kind of things.
The
that
actions
are
and
getting
flow.
Me excited. Yeah. Those are the things that are getting me excited.
Are you getting excited about the new PSA?
Not yet. I will, but not yet. Yeah, no. We still have some more conversations to have before we can start excited about that.
Well, it's quite interesting that you mentioned that you don't get excited by Dynamics 365 features, not as you used to, and same for me. I don't get particularly excited by Dynamics 365 features because you're quite right. Come to think about it, none of my latest 3 or 4 projects was Dynamics 365 project in any shape or form. 2 of them did have Dynamics 365 licensing historically, but 2 brand new and they don't. So I'm kind of looking into the platform and ALM things. New things that are exciting for me is basically what you already mentioned, tighter flow and connectors as part of the solution. So that's very important. So you will be able to release stuff properly and include connectors and flow in it. And of course, PCF. That's going to be big. And I'm not sure if PCF on Canvas is part of Wave 2.
It's in preview now.
It's in preview now, but I'm not sure.
It's very limited, though. But I think there are things, and as I've been setting up trials, I'm already seeing some of them. I like the new header. I like the way it feels grouped, and you can expand it. That's really nice. I like the more data dense fields and forms and views. So yeah, there's a lot of nice things, and we have numerous episodes about the Wave 2 features. And so it's kind of like there's not like this big thing people are going to see in October. It's just going to be the versional change. You'll see I think doesn't the color of the sitemap change again, or is that is that staying the same? I can never remember if it's
I
white or
think you
black
can
now.
change. You can set the theming of it now
Oh,
with
good.
the new header.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
what about
on the good?
hold on. I'm trying to remember. Steve was talking to Charles Lamana, and there was some other changes. Oh, UI, kind of invisible changes in UI. Less white space. Aren't they saying it every release?
Well, that's what I mean about more data dense. So if you look at the views in Wave 2, it's kind of tricked me into thinking I'm looking at classic UI in some ways when you see the view specifically, because that's what was jarring a little bit. You went to unified interface, things were just spread out more. And it was like things where the view would, on classic UI, the column wouldn't spread to the end. Now it feels like they got that right. And same thing on the form, some things where, just having I think it's like unified interface was kind of like the Mocha and the interactive service hub, and these new interfaces came together, and being responsive and touch first because they came from the mobile side. They were designed to work well with touch, but then they're a little jarring when you look at them on a big screen with a mouse. With a 30-plus inch monitor. So now, with the ability to have more control over that data density, I think that's where I think Power Apps, Canvas apps, still need to go through that a little bit, because when you use a Canvas app in full screen, unless you work really hard on it, it still feels a little bit like the controls are just designed for a phone and not designed or optimized for a large screen. But we'll get there. And that's where I think this is one of those releases that it's not going to. There's not one thing that's going to be a big deal, but there's a lot of groundwork being laid. We've been in catch up for a unified interface, and and also Canvas apps catching up with functionality that we had in Classic UI and in Dynamics 365. But if you're you make sure, George, to let us know what's broken when you get the Wave 2 in Australia, so it'll be fixed by the time we get it 2 weeks later.
Yes.
So,
yes,
George, are you
going
to be tuning in next week to Power Platform 24?
Power Platform what? Sorry, lost you for a second.
Power Platform 24, the 24-hour virtual Power Platform conference.
I'll tune in at some point in the day. We'll see. I'm kind of, there's so much content coming left and right. Don't know what and where to consume. There are app in a day, app in a second, app in a week, and then partner airlift, and then internal training, and this, and the content delivery, and Serum UG is coming up, and then Ignite is coming up, and then something else will be coming up, and then before you know, it's New Year and Christmas and Bass, and there's so many places to consume the content. Oh, and hackathons and this and that. How you guys decide what to tune into? It's like we now have, we've got CRM audio. So to me, it's like the entire world of Dynamics 365 / Power Platform content became one AM FM, band, because you really have to pick up your favorite radio stations, tune in, and just ignore the rest, because it's like TV. Hey, Shawn, switch TV. You know how they do it in the movie.
Yeah.
Are you watching TV? Switch channel 3 on. There's the news, and it's always important news. Right?
So I think to your point, it's important to have a strategy for what you tune into and what you don't. There are a lot of things out there, and so all three of us have certain areas that we really haven't gone into, and they're different. Right. So for me, that would be summed up in probably portals, project service, and kind of field service. Although I've gone a little bit into field service. So again, I've probably focused a lot more on D365 for marketing than either one of you two.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
Right.
between the three of us, we can conquer the whole Power Platform, except maybe Power BI. George, do you know anything about Power BI?
I know the URL. Yes.
That's about all I got too. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why we have Ulrich.
I did get a book though. I did get a book at MBAS, so it's still sitting on my.
And that's
it's
where
still sitting on my bookshelf.
I've kind of set the strategy that I'm going to try to ignore experimental features, because there's so many Power Apps blog posts on the Power Apps blog and the Flow blog about, hey, there's this new feature, but it's an experimental feature. And so, for example, the polymorphic fields and lookup fields inside of Canvas apps, when that was an experimental feature, it stopped working several times and just didn't work. And then they switched to the new connector, the current environment connector, and changed the way things work and didn't tell anybody. So we've been discovering all kinds of things where we thought it was a bug, like how lookup fields look, and oh no, it just works differently now.
Well, and I think that speaks to the difference, the key difference between an experimental feature and a preview feature. A preview feature, while it's clear everybody says it's not supported by Microsoft, and you shouldn't do it in a production environment. We've all deployed some level of a preview feature at one time or another. However, with experimental features in Power Apps, like you're saying, it could literally break more times than not. And given the, I think there's a different, I'm losing the word, not cadence, but agility that you need with Power Apps development than standard CE, right?
Right. I think part of that's the immaturity of the platform. It seems like it will at some point reach a point, but it has to play catch up for what we have, like between workflow and flow and things like that. But I think, and again, I've read the details. I'm pretty sure that a preview feature in Dynamics, like the sales forecasting feature, is equivalent to an experimental feature in Power Platform, because you don't have experimental Dynamics features. They show up on the preview tab, and some of them have gone away, like the document recommendations. That went away. But if you read what the definitions of in Power Apps and Flow, experimental features might go away and you can't in production, but preview features pretty much always happen. They're just not maybe in their final version, or things will be added to it. So Microsoft actually encourages you to use preview features actually even in production. So it's a little bit different,
I agree,
a little bit different the way they do it.
But with the rapid development of a Power App as opposed to CE, and I know you've gotten into the same situation, there are times where you're kind of almost forced to use the experimental feature because you run into a kind of a barrier, and it seems like that's going to work, and it works for a little while, but then stops. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That I don't find that with preview features.
Preview features I missed the memo. Where's the experimental features switch in model driven?
There isn't, but the connectors and components inside of Canvas apps and Flow is what we're talking about, George.
Right.
But
connectors don't have experimental switch either. It's kind of usually there is a preview in connectors.
Here's the devil's advocate on this one: embedded Canvas apps. If the day the preview is released, you read Nick Dolman's awesome article about can replace your dialogues with Canvas apps. Those Canvas apps, embedded Canvas apps you wrote, would not work today because they changed fundamentally the way it worked. Initially, it was this model-driven form integration component would actually get the data, and then you could do it on a subgrid. They took that away, and it doesn't actually get the data. It gets the fields, but you can't display that in a gallery. You have to use a CDS connection and filter that CDS connection to what comes in from the model-driven form integration. So there's an example of a preview feature that if you built and went to production, which we tried, in a project, I really tried it. It just wasn't ready for prime time, and I'm glad we didn't, because we then have come back later and delivered that in the same project, but it actually works and works better. But it was whatever we did back then had to be totally redone because, if you try to do a gallery on a subgrid with it, it just doesn't work anymore. So George, I have a question for you. I've had somebody who's not a developer, and it wasn't me or Shawn, but somebody who's not a developer expressed that they felt it was kind of weird that for the model-driven form or embedded Canvas app to work, you had to link it to a field, and that field has no properties about it. It's just basically you have to link it to the field. And my question for you is that something specific to how PCF works, or is there a reason that why you think they tied it where you have to have a field instead of just giving you a insert embedded Canvas app button?
Well, PCF does have a notion of unbound controls, so you don't have to bind it to a field or a data set. So it's not a particularly PCF limitation. As far as embedded Canvas, I'm not sure. I believe it's been raised before that we want kind of unbound embedded Canvas that gets access to the content, but then I think they ran out in some implementation inconsistencies, let's put it this way. And you mentioned those. So they used to bind to fields. Now they want to bind to a connection, right? Mm-hmm. So more like a context-driven rather than specific field-driven. So I think when dust settles, it's kind of, you'll see that you want the context of the form because otherwise your control is kind of useless as a brick, right? So you want to get the context where you host it, but not necessarily a specific field or data set to bind to. I think that will be coming. I think there are some gadgets around context, kind of passing context reliably and kind of doing refresh and all sort of stuff. This is one of those things, as you said, it's like it's in preview or it's experimental and then preview and then again experimental and things are changing and it's hard to give advice on that because there are better ways to do things are coming up. It's like, how do you explain to the people that, let's say, CDS current environment connector does have associate, but the CDS no current environment doesn't have associate and disassociate? Why not?
Or run from current record, right?
No, like seriously, as a developer, you keep asking like, oh, wait a second. So you surface feature here, but not in this one. Does that mean that you run in different code bases for these connectors? What's the story there? And we won't know the full story, but that's the reality that CDS current environment, when you start thinking about it, it sits kind of on a tighter connection. It's closer to the metal, so it understands the metadata better, and it's got context passed to it. So it's kind of internalized, so to speak. So it
seems to me like the current environment one is designed for people building flows and power apps that run from Dynamics or run in context of Dynamics, where the other one is built for people writing apps in context of other things that connect to Dynamics that might need to call specific environments or something.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense you get more functionality using the one, but I just wish that when they had the same thing they were trying to do, they would use the same approach. So if you can write a expression for one, you shouldn't have to do a different expression format for the other one. But I tell you the one thing
here's the gotcha.
Tell me the gotcha.
Now, why expressions could be different? Remember that generic connector that sits outside for people to connect from outside to CDS, so to speak, right? It needs to be logic apps compliant, so to speak. It needs to work in logic apps. So it's got its limitations by the logic apps model, imposed on it by the logic apps model. If logic apps doesn't understand the concept of multi-select, for example, I don't know if that's, but doesn't matter. Then you cannot surface multi-select in your connector, right? On the other hand, the CDS connector, current environment, is not bound by Logic App's limitations. That's my understanding. So it does have a bit more room to move, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. No. You can do that, but I mean, there's just some things we found, like you working with the customer field on cases. You have to use a different expression between the two connectors. They simplified it. They made it easier.
Hey,
but
look,
in the process,
when
you
I
don't have to
talk
say
to-
you just have to say the entity type anymore, for
When I
example.
talk to,
But
let's say, David Yak, I use different language when I talk to you guys. When I talk to you, I need to simplify things and, speak in shorter sentences.
So we talk to David, you speak in Yakanese. I know. I got it. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we should have a moment of silence because the death of the classic interface has been announced. October 1st, 2020 will be the date on the tombstone. Any last words? I guess we'll have a whole year to make last words. But Shawn, any words of what was the best thing about the classic UI? And don't say the navigation.
Now that I use unified interface more and more, I can't think of a single thing. I really don't like it anymore, so I can't really say. I'm happy that it's finally being retired, and that we're going to have a single. Well, now what we're going to have to deal with is, before we had the classic UI to unified interface struggle. Now we're going to have the unified interface to maker experience struggle. So it kind of just shifts our problem from one to another. So, but I'm looking forward to where unified is the only way to go.
How about you, George? Any RIP you want to give to the classic UI?
Considering that classic UI is, 5 years old?
Longer than that.
Well,
Classic?
I mean,
What do you mean more than that?
Parts of it
2013.
go back to CRM4. I mean, really,
Yeah.
you look at the pieces and settings, or you look at other things like Advanced Find UI.
Those
or
Those
Announcements,
are
baby. Don't
no,
forget
I'm sorry.
announcements.
Those are vintage. Okay.
Let's pour a cup out for announcements.
But I guess compared to unified interface, the best thing about classic UI is the date when deprecation was announced. Not gonna miss a thing, except getting to workflow editor now became pain in the neck. Like creating new workflow, it's just.
Well, I will say, okay, I don't like the sitemap in Classic UI. I like it much better in Unified Interface. Switching areas within the sitemap is more complicated or more kludgy in Unified Interface. You got to really precisely click to get to the right area if you want to switch between them. And I think it was designed really with the thought that we'll just have a bunch of model-driven apps, but then licensing changes, I predict, are going to make people stick with, more so multiple areas. So that's the only thing I could think of. All the things that they really did a good job of unifying it and keeping the best parts, like the alphabet selector, and the view selector now is pretty similar, and dashboards are the same. So it's not really. There's more similarities than differences until you get to the form. Then the form brings back the best. It's kind of like the greatest hits. It's kind of like, this is the Dynamics greatest hits. Let's keep what was good. Let's keep what was good from, we got the visual controls from Mocha, which are turning into the PCF controls. We've got the old alphabet selector. We got the tabs. We got the area. We got the sitemap on the left. So it's kind of like we picked the best of everything.
Where's our LP collection?
LP?
Yeah, like vintage. Is that the workflow editor?
It's advanced find right now. Advanced
Yeah.
find, marketing lists, goals,
Ooh, goals.
connections.
Every time you use it, you have to kind of put the gloves on and kind of pull it out of the dust jacket and blow on it like and then and then gently put the needle down on it, right?
That's right.
So,
Slowly step away.
and slowly step away. Don't jump.
Yeah.
Nothing of this.
So let's do a rundown of upcoming conferences. I know, George, you said there's too many to keep up with, and I'd agree there's a lot of them because this is the conference season. So you talked about Power Platform 24. So here's the deal. It's a 24-hour conference, and I'm one of the organizers, and guess what time I got for my slot as being the guy running the show? I got 4:30 a.m. to 8:30. I'm closing it down.
What?
Because nobody in Australia set up to be a proctor. Okay, so I'm doing it, and I had the last session of the conference there, which is about hey, you got your CRM in my Teams. It's about Teams and Dynamics integration. Which, by the way, on the 4th of October, I'm going to be enhancing that presentation and delivering, how to maximize your teams. And you I heard you roll your eyes there, Shawn, but I am doing sales deployments. An increasing number of salespeople want to use the entire system from Teams, and it really is possible. So, and
we're seeing that in customer service implementations too. It's just really getting to that sweet spot of really helping them define what the collaboration capability is. I feel a lot of flashbacks to when OneNote lit up and the whole promise of collaboration via OneNote. So I think with the Teams,
which was, by the way, the subject of CRM Audio episode
number 1. That's right. I think the big differentiator there is the Teams bot. So hopefully that'll be more resonant.
And I think being able to see not just the form but the view within there. I see a lot of people put like Planner inside of Teams, which works great if you want to have tasks associated with the team. But if you just need to know kind of a list of things, or you need to know kind of the list of scheduled activities or historical activities, whatever, you can just put that in your team and have a tab with that, so which works pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then we get to CRMG Summit coming up on the middle of October. What are you speaking about at Summit there, Shawn?
Maximizing your customer service experience with Power Apps and the Power Platform. So in that, we're really going to delve into embedded Canvas apps. We're going to talk about some PCF controls. We're going to talk about virtual agent, Microsoft Chat, things like that. So that should be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm not speaking as such. Maybe I'll go to the panel or something, but I run 2 pre-conference training sessions. So there is the entire day we built Power Apps portal in a day. So we'll
that's cool.
All the basics, starting from scratch and go all the way. I'll see if we can sneak in even shopping carts and things like that people ask about. One day it's kind of it's tight but doable. And the other topic is half a day, and it's surprisingly, not surprisingly, it's a bit about licensing, but it's called moving from Dynamics 365 to Power Apps with license-driven development. So
you're the old LDD.
LDD, yes.
So since you're not going to be speaking, you'll want to make sure you stop by the session that I'm doing with Matt Whitteman and a little bit of Andrew Butenko thrown in too about keeping your Dynamics data clean with the Power App.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll make sure. And the rest is then there is Ignite. I'm not sure if I'm going to be there yet. I wasn't. My submissions were declined, let's put it this way, but I think you both got accepted, so congratulations on that.
Yeah,
so
we have a CRM audio episode from the
I'll
Ignite
join you
podcast
remotely. But otherwise,
for Ignite, I have the enhancing profitability with in-field service with Power Apps, where I'm going to be talking about a Canvas app that is a what-if calculator for margin, so that when you're looking at your actual booking, you could say, okay, well, now I need these additional parts, I need this additional, I need to provide this additional service. How do I maximize my profitability margin in doing so? And then we're also going to record an at your service at Ignite, so that should be pretty cool. And we're focusing on that discussion is going to be focusing on AI. It's going to be kind of like a last time we were at Ignite, we did talk about AI, but it was much more nascent, talking about the big picture AI kind of thing. But now with now that virtual agents released, and we have a lot more capabilities that are in production, if you will, I think it's going to be a little bit different conversation and more of a practical nature. So rather than theoretical.
Yeah, and since the Microsoft AI apps no longer only work on Android, you can actually demo them.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And we have an on-conference. So
yes.
You might say, what is an on-conference? Do you say what's an on-conference?
I said that just today. What is an on-conference? Yes,
so an on-conference is a really cool concept. It's grown out of some of the meetups that they've had in the past, but trying to formalize them a little bit more. So they have these things called on-conferences that are limited to I think 50 people, and there's going to be a sign up. So if you're going, you'll want to look for that. I think it's going to be out early October, but they're about different topics, and it's a way for you to go and kind of have an unstructured meetup with people in the industry. And so we're going to have several MVPs there, and the title of it is Power Platform CRM Person. Specifically, if you're like us and where we were 2 years ago, and you see this Power Platform stuff with Flow and Power Apps, and you're coming from a Dynamics background, it's kind of intimidating. Like, what is this stuff, and what do I do with it? So This is your chance to ask those questions and learn. We'll probably have some demos there and be able and tell our stories about how we've broadened our horizons into the Power Platform, and so it's really should be a good session. So check for that, and as soon as you have a chance, sign up, because it's limited to a smaller, more intimate number of people. So, and there's a bunch of other ones there, but that should be a lot of fun because we can get perspectives from different people, and we'll have a basic outline, but really it's going to be driven by the questions people ask and the conversations we have there.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. Ignite in general is going to be really fun, I think. I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Yeah. Well, you had last year trying to win all the giveaways.
I did.
Did you win any of the giveaways?
I got 3 Microsoft Learn T-shirts. I think you're only supposed to be able to win 1, but I got 3.
I think you were only supposed to get 1. You put down those fake glasses and hats and using different names helped you a lot, right?
I got all the colors: white, blue, and gray. So.
Yep. Yeah. And so hope to see you there. And even if you're not, we'll have, for one thing, the Power Platform 24. All 24 sessions will be released afterwards. And there's also the recent Flow virtual conference. John Levesque released all the 9 hours from that too. So there's plenty of things to watch and learn from. I actually signed up for the preview of YouTube, whatever the paid version of YouTube is, specifically so I could download conference sessions and watch them while I'm playing. That's a good way to do it. There's other ways to do it, but Google has turned off some of the Chrome extensions I used to do that. So now I'm doing it legally.
Well, and if you so were inclined, you could also download the weekly dispatch videos too, if you wanted to do that too. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, it's it's not like a video channel affiliated with the network or anything, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, Shawn and George, who's now gone, good to catch up with you.
Absolutely. We'll talk again next time.